All right, welcome to this edition of the Monarch Metamorphosis Podcast. I'm Dr. Ryan Greene, co-founder and medical director of Monarch Athletic Clubs. And this is episode 10, so we've hit double digits. Some people didn't think that was possible, but I always believed. And we have a very special guest today, and it's going to be an interesting conversation that has been a long time coming. I'm super excited about it. His management's been dogging me like, we want to get him on the podcast. And I finally had a gap in my schedule. So, I'm making room for it. And anyway, without further ado, a longtime Monarch Athletic Club member and a good friend at this point, because we've been through a lot in the last few years, Mr. Chris Lake. So good to have you here, my friend.
Thank you for having me. This is my career progression.
This is it.
I've been waiting for this moment. Thank you.
This is it. I'm very excited. And so, I kind of months ago when we started talking about this, I was motivated by, I watched the Netflix documentary, I Am Tim, which for people who haven't seen it, it's like behind the scenes footage, unreleased, kind of more context around the life and unfortunately the end of Tim Bergling, who people know in the industry as Avicii. And I don't know if you ever worked with him or ever met him. But obviously, like, you guys, at least in my opinion, and I listen to a lot of house music, like up there in terms of impact. But what struck me and led me to have this conversation is looking at someone who was so brilliant and had so much talent, and then just see like the life force be drained because of the industry, because of their touring schedule, because of decisions or lack of decisions, basically supporting their physical and mental health. Yeah, it fed into this hypothesis I have of like, if you are brilliant, like you are at creating music, which we'll get into because you don't actually play an instrument. And I told you I was going to say that, so I'm not sure how I would call you a musician. But anyway, like people like you guys, like, do you have to be a comet that just like burns super bright and then fizzles out and then it's like death and destruction? Or could we, like the work you're doing with us, like you're trying to keep yourself in shape. You're trying to keep yourself functioning at a high level so you can, handle your travel schedule. So those are all the things that, really interested me. And it's not just in music. Like, what happens if Steve Jobs lived an extra 50 years? Like, what new technologies would we have, and Einstein, things like that. So that's kind of what I want to get into. But for people who don't necessarily know you, like, brief background, where are you from, what led you into music, and go from there.
I am Chris Lake and I'm from England, and I got into music when I was 12. Both of my grandfathers would play the church organ, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they both had like these, like the 2-tier church organs with the foot pedals in their living room. So I'd like, when I was a kid, I'd always be messing around with the keyboards. And then my grandfather on my mother's side said to my mother, I was like, he's actually got something. So I do actually play an instrument, just not very good.
Yeah. Nice.
But they got me lessons when I was like 12, and that's really how I got into music. And then when I eventually moved to Scotland, and that was around about when I was 14, and I had to make my choices for what subjects I wanted to do at high school. One of the subjects I chose was music, and that's where I learned how to make music. I learn about synthesizers, drum machines, all of this, composition.
That was in school?
That was at school. Yes, I started that when I was 14, and I fell in love with it. Fell in love with the idea of being able to create your own stuff. So, luckily my father was a manager at a fish processing factory, so I would be working every summer, every holiday that I had at school. I'd be working to make money to buy equipment to make music, and that's what I did. I've played since the age of, actually would have been 13 to 14. I've been working to make money to buy musical equipment because it was expensive. That was around about 1997. So it wasn't making music on computers at that point. It was like physical hardware, mixers and drum machines.
And when did things go from like were you playing like high school parties or like?
Yeah, I was doing some terrible parties.
What was your DJ name?
That's a good question.
I would tell you mine, but it's NSFW. It's not suitable for this podcast.
No, I bet you. I can actually imagine what it is.
Yeah. Yes, you can.
I actually can't remember. I remember I had a band that was, I think we had a band that was called Cachet or something like that. It was something
terrible.
Really terrible.
Terrible.
But honestly, the music was worse. Yeah. So, but you know, there was like, I just fell in love with the music, and it just became, it went from a hobby to a serious hobby to an opportunity for a career to the whole of my life, you know. And
what would you have done if you weren't a DJ? Like, what was the path? 'Cause I'm sure your parents and grandparents were like, be an accountant.
Yeah. I thought that I wanted to do something like architecture or something like that.
Interesting.
Structural engineering. That was what I thought I wanted to do when I was younger. I never got to that point. I just got stuck into music, and then there became like a, you know, I was messing around with music for quite a while. I was having a little bit of success, but I wasn't really like the driven person that I am today.
Yeah.
There came a point where I was like, I need to get my shit together and focus. I gave myself a year to make something significant happen, and in that year, that was when things really started clicking, and pretty much been the same ever since. Just on the hamster wheel, can like go for it. That was like 2005.
And what happened? Was it a song that was released?
Yeah, there was a track called Changes. I got my first.
Someone saw your bleached hair and said that's interesting.
That's exactly what it is. I had a full proper hairline at that point, and then they were the good old days.
Yeah, I'm still in them.
Yeah, you're lucky. Don't gloat. And then I got my first major record deal. I had my first top 40 record in the UK. I got my first agent, manager, all this sort of stuff. It all started coming together. I've pretty much been on the road ever since. So
let's talk about that, because that's kind of where, you know, when I met you, I don't know, God knows how many years ago. It's probably like 4 or 5 years.
4 years ago, yeah.
4 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, tell me about like who you were. How did you make it through? You know, how many shows a year were you doing?
Well, this is health focused, so okay. I started off. Predominantly.
Tell the truth.
The truth is, I was a really unhealthy, unathletic human being, and that was
always, or just
always. That was my upbringing up until
that tracks.
Up until I became. It does track. Up until I was like early 20s, and I realized. I actually need to change. Need to change my ways. I need to be quite active I have to actively make an effort to counteract my natural habits and my.
And was that after tendencies. Like things like took off with?
It was It was but kind of like it coincided with it. Once I started traveling, and I realized the stresses of traveling, I realized that I needed to do something about like trying to stay healthy, and. Yeah, I think it was like I just started. You know, that's when I got into going to the gym and learning about eating healthy and habits and what drinking does to you and things like that. So, when I was first touring, I was drinking a lot, drinking on the road, and that was one of the first things I gave that up. Around I would have been 28, something like that.
How unusual is that amongst your population of people?
Well, in England. At that time, very rare.
Yeah.
Like British people have a bit of a problem with just caning it.
Yeah.
Essentially, whether that be drink, recreational drugs, etc. They're kind of like it's quite glorified to get belligerent and get really messed up, which can be fun. Yeah. It can be really fun on occasion. It is if it's in isolation. But then when it's funny now. I was actually having this conversation yesterday. Because I've got colleagues now who have they've now been a few years into AA, and you look back on some of those things that you felt were kind of like normal and okay behaviors to be having, and they're not if you're just doing it every weekend, so those little things that you're doing all the time become habitual, and that I luckily for me early on I recognized how some people were living, where that would lead to if I did that.
Yeah.
So I made adjustments to try and give myself longevity, because by that point, like this is like, you know, when I'm like late 20s, early 30s, I'm realizing I don't think I'll be able to continue traveling if I'm hungover all the time.
Sure.
You know, it's so depressing. It just like pulls you down, makes you feel like shit. So that was one of the first things I gave up. I really wanted to try and find a way to be as healthy as possible. But one of the hard things that I found is I actually find it really quite difficult to be really creative and really focused on health at the same time. That's actually probably the most success I've had has been the last few years in this, you know, in this kind of like infrastructure we've been working on. So it's quite hard. It's quite hard to do.
Because the substances or whatever that is helps improve your creativity, or
to be honest with you, I just watching what you're eating and,
yeah.
and things like that, and like getting up and going to the gym. Like sometimes when I'm really focused on the creative of, you know, making music,
Sure.
take over everything. I'll be, you know, if I walk into that studio at 9 a.m., that can be me sat in a chair,
Yeah.
maybe without breaks until 8 in the evening, 9 in the evening. That's a lot. That's a long time.
And you're not using like Adderall or stimulants?
No. A lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee. That's about it. And I just get, you know, you get really stuck into those things.
Sure,
so
flow.
if you don't like, you know, the way to have success with writing music is giving yourself, or really just giving yourself the opportunity to mess around, make like, you're just like looking for a fluky little mistake, something that's, you know, something that sparks and sounds interesting, and that can take hours and hours and hours, and sometimes you just have to be in a room and give yourself a chance for that to happen. Sure. It's not like work. It's not like, you know, packing boxes or things like that, where it's just like, you know, if you're stood in front of these, if you're on this production line for 2 hours, you're going to pack X amount of boxes, and that you've got a productivity level that you can expect. In music and with creation, it's not like that. And it's kind of like you have to approach things in a different way. You've got to like set things up in a way where you give yourself a greater chance of achieving certain things. And with studio, a lot of it is just about being in the studio and giving yourself a chance to create something that will do something for your career.
Do you think what you're producing now is higher quality in terms of like creativity and then just general composition over the last 5 years?
General composition, yeah. Sometimes I listen back to the ideas that I've had years ago, and I'm like, wow, I've got no idea how I came up with that. I can't even relate to like the headspace I was in. I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't make those decisions. I'm happy with what I'm doing now, but it's different. You know, you just evolve, like grow. You have different opinions, different tastes, and things like that. Yeah, I'm definitely better at what I do now, overall. And
at the peak of your touring, how many shows a year are you doing?
Sorry, I didn't answer that one. So I think like probably, well, you mentioned Avicii. I know that he was doing a lot. He would have been doing more than I do. I'd say at my peak, I probably hit 120 shows a year.
Consistently, how many years in a row would you do that?
I probably more consistently did like close to 100 shows a year.
That's crazy. That's one every 3.5 days.
Yeah, I guess that is quite a lot. So,
I mean, when I was in college a cappella, I was doing 200 a year. So it's not,
when you got your talent, you know.
Yeah.
I think I've probably done maybe like 8 or 9 of those years. Of the last 20, I've probably done close to 100 shows.
And at any point were you like, regardless of substance utilization, you're just like, this isn't worth it? Or like,
oh yeah, I've definitely had that question a lot. It's not easy. I mean, like, okay, there's a lot to cover here, but like, I'm primarily a musician. Like my biggest love is in the studio. That's it's also I actually think that's the more unhealthy part of my life, is actually being in the studio than being on the road.
Why? It's because you sit for 12 hours a day.
It's the sitting. Yeah. It's the sitting. The long travel, of course, is bloody terrible. The really late nights, if you're doing club shows and the lack of sleep, that's another thing. But that's not as bad anymore, because of the type of shows that I do, I'm like, they don't go as late as they used to. But I've kind of like got things in a pretty good place. But the studio thing is probably like, it can be quite difficult you can get really unhealthy really quick being in the studio.
Yeah, just like,
sitting, like sitting and like sitting in a really poor posture. You could like you're not thinking about those things. If you get locked in on an idea and that's it. That's the only thing you're thinking of.
So how have you and will you continue to find harmony so that you hopefully can continue doing this, whether it's composition and you're providing whatever, samples and beats for, people? Like at some point, to be honest, I don't know if I want to see a 50-year-old Chris Lake.
Genuinely, like that's not a joke to me. I don't. I've never wanted that. That's sort of, that's like being on the road. Like I don't want to do that at all. And like, so, I'm obviously thinking about things that I can do to transition to, to have longevity in my career and still be in music, but not necessarily be on the road. But
how do you maintain that creativity?
So,
how do you maintain all that?
I just have to be regimented. I really have to. So the thing that I've learned is like, there's certain things that are inevitable. There's like, I can't achieve ideal. Like I can't achieve perfect. Well, I've talked to you about this. I can't achieve perfect. There's always something that has to give. But I can put effort into just trying to like work hard and, when I try, like if I get back late on a Sunday night from touring, I will be in on the Monday. I force myself to come in.
Yeah, you've been great. You've been consistent.
Sometimes. It's a really shitty session.
Yeah.
I turn up.
But
that's the main thing for me. Even if I just turn up and I'm like I'm an absolute train wreck. That for me, that's like mentally, I've turned up. So I just force myself to do that. I try to keep good hours. I try to get a good amount of sleep. Try to eat healthy.
Are there other?
I keep it simple. I keep it pretty simple.
Are there other people like you? Like is Fisher or other people kind of like? Do you hit a certain point in your career where you're just like, I'm either going to be dead or I got to figure this shit out?
The way things work now, there's like, I mean, Fisher's a great example. He's like a. People see things from him on social media, and the thing that I hear people say all the time is, I'd love to party with him. I'd love to be out on a night out. And I can say, he's a fantastic person to be on a night out with. He's so much fun. But he's also like, he's human as well. And he's turning 40 this year. And his life since the pandemic's completely changed. He's got way more into training, into, like wellness and sleep regimens.
Sure.
He's actually, out of anyone that I know, he's the craziest, the most consistent when it comes to ice baths and sauna. He does it every place he goes to. You
know what's funny is I think Diplo's more known now for his run club than just like being Diplo, which is pretty interesting.
Someone else has started a run club as well. There's another DJ, but there's definitely been a shift, probably since the pandemic as well, towards people just being more balanced in their life and being healthy. There's now more morning shows that are starting to happen, and for events. I'd get to, I've been offered to play coffee shop parties in the morning and things like that. And there's people that are much more interested in doing things during the day, so they're not up all through the night.
Yeah.
So they can actually not completely destroy their life. But
totally.
Like kids today seem to be like less interested in the behaviors that my generation were interested in, which was getting absolutely fucked up all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people that are they're not interested in drinking as much, and they want to look after themselves, which is great to see.
Do you find that younger artists reach out, look up to you in terms of like asking questions on like, what are you doing? How are you creating? Or are they just trying to?
Yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, quite a lot. There's like, there's a lot of artists that, get like a little bit of success if someone blows up on TikTok or something like that, which is pretty much the way that things blow up today. And I've had a lot of artists reach out.
What do you tell them?
Look after yourself. Try to get a good structure around you. Get a good support. Try and find people around you that you believe have your best interest in heart. I mean, you talked about Avicii right at the beginning. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he had the best infrastructure around him, and for me personally, I have people that I'll say if I feel like I need to put the brakes on. Yeah. But I've also got people around me who will say they feel like I need to put the brakes on even more.
And how'd you get there? Because I'm sure at some point you're like, I'm just a kid who's like, I can't believe people are paying me to play music. Like
that's where it becomes difficult, because something like if you've got like I've got a team around me. I've got a relatively big team now that I've got a really good relationship with them. They understand me. They know that I'm in this for the long term. Yeah. You talked about at the beginning, do artists need to come in and just like come in like a comet, then hit the ground, and then the heat goes. That's it. It's stationary forever. I don't take that approach. I'm going for the slow, steady, and I want to be around for a long time. This is like it's my life, my passion, and my lifestyle. Yeah. And I tell my team around me, I'm like, don't make decisions for $1. Like it's like, just make decisions because they're the right decisions for me as an artist and as a career. And it's like that's allowed us to say no to a lot more things. That look, if I was focused on money, I'd make different decisions. Sure. I'd probably be much less happy. Yeah.
No, for sure. I'm it's an interesting, because I'm in a similar boat where like you come out of med school, residency, fellowship, like becoming an entrepreneur is not a normal path, because you're 250 grand in debt. Like you just take the stable job that has the signing bonus, even if, and I'll be honest, a lot of my colleagues are not happy. They're just doing what they did. It's like, fuck, I'm 30 years into this. Like I have no other choice. That was not going to work for me. So, we are where we are now, and I'm grateful, but I also had to like hustle. I'm taking every side gig that I can possibly get, because I was like, I got to pay my bills. But now I'm in that space, same as you, where it's like contract to expand, right? Like I need to start to say no to more things so that I can focus on my craft, my art, what we're doing. It's just in a different world than what you're doing, but the same energy is present, which is
just refining and just trying to, just use your energies in a better way. But like, that's pretty much my approach to everything, to health, wellness, to life, to
What's a life goal you have that doesn't have to do with music? I have a couple questions on the music front.
A couple of things actually. It's just funny. I was talking about this earlier. I got one random one. I want to design luggage. Genuinely, I want to design.
Because it sucks.
Because I spend so much time using luggage, and
what would you do differently without giving it away?
There's a couple of things. I just think there's a lot of people like me that are on the road 2-3 days a weekend, or 2-3 days a week every weekend, that are looking to exploit to every millimeter the possibilities of what you can take onto a plane and then have the functionality of the modern user. And I don't feel like there's a lot of really high-end like road warrior bags that are fit for purpose. So watch this space. I'm going to design a lovely bag.
I mean, if anyone knows how to, like, what's necessary, it's someone like you.
Because I'm like
millions of miles flown.
We're using them all the time. We talk about it. Like when I'm on the road, when we're like.
What kind of luggage do you use right now? I'm a Toomey guy.
So the metal case is Rimowa. I was using a way before that. I had the Toomey top bag. The reason I've stopped using that is because the Rimowa one, the handle is too wide for the slot. It's pissing me off, man. Yeah, it's the little things. So anyway, that's when I'm sat at the airport and the flight's delayed. I'm like talking to a tour manager, talking to the videographer. I'm like, imagine if we had this. Imagine if we had this.
There we go, dude.
So I'm going to design it.
We planted the seed. Hey,
what about you?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot of things. I want to be honest, like part of what I want to be able to do is, because growing up in the Midwest, we don't really have a lot of culture, and it's not anyone's. All right, that's hilarious. That's true. Everyone in here is laughing, but like, we don't have the opportunities that people that grew up in your part of the world have, where like you're traveling to different countries, within a couple hours, where, it's the only thing a couple hours from where I grew up was Lake of the Ozarks. Like it's not exceptional. So part of what I really want to do is continue to open up our clubs, not just because it's like business success, but populating these little, clubs around the world so that I can take my family, I can take my kids and be like, hey, we're going to go check in on, the Portugal locations, and you're going to get to experience that culture. And like, that's really important to me because I'm fascinated. I remember when I went to Europe for the first time, I was sitting next to a guy on Lufthansa. We were flying into Munich. I'm like, this dude has a family. Like he gets groceries. He speaks a totally different language and we're a world apart. But like, I wonder what his life is like. What does he talk to his kids about? So something about being able to like spend more, and it's not like a week here, a week there. Like I want to spend 4 to 6 weeks in a place. So like I have to go get groceries and like figure out how the ecosystem works. I love climbing mountains. So like I want to I did Kilimanjaro. I want to get up to Everest. I want to do Mount Fuji. So those are some big ones for me. In terms of like what I do outside of medicine, I am going to champion getting psilocybin somehow into the mainstream because I just think it's going to be so impactful. So
I never knew you liked that stuff.
Yeah. Well, surprise. Let's talk about creativity, huh? So those are the big things for me. And I've told this to you 1,000 times. I have a beautiful voice.
You have said this.
It is time that I'm featured on a track a la Alo Black or something like that.
You know what?
I'm really good. I'm not just messing with you. So like,
and it's all good. And honestly, even if you're delusional, and
all your
wrong,
stuff has female voices.
Not all of it.
You need some men's voices.
That's fine. But technology can fix what you don't have.
That's why I didn't listen to your album.
I believe in technology. It can handle this task. It can help us.
Final question. 2 questions. First, from a music standpoint, what's the one thing you want to accomplish? Because like when you did the Hollywood Boulevard shutdown, that was epic. First of all,
thank you.
I had something else. I think I was taking a nap, but I saw the Instagram stuff.
You know that Parker.
Yeah.
You know that Parker came and couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Couldn't get hold of us on the phone either. So I felt really bad about that.
What would you like to? Is there a venue or an artist or something that you would like to do before you hang up from performing?
I'd like to do one more like big statement show in LA. We've got a plan for what it would be. That would be with Fisher. I want to do one more big one with him. It's just really fun. We just have so much fun doing these things together, and we've done a bunch of them now. Why not do another one? So it's just trying to get the city on board. Yeah. What happened in Pacific Palisades this year has not helped things. Sure. The city's got a lot of things to deal with because of all of that. So it might take longer than what we planned. But yeah, I'd like to do something like that. But I can't tell you the venue, unfortunately, because it's like we have to be really secretive about it.
Ooh, I love that.
It's so difficult to find unique venues in LA. It's one of the most competitive markets. Yeah. Everyone's trying to do something special. Yeah. But I think we're in a good position. I think we showed what we can do. We can throw an event responsibly. Sure. I mean, that went impeccably. There was no trouble at all. Yeah. It was difficult to throw. We had to be really, really particular about it. And I think we've shown that we can do that again. So hopefully we can do that at a different venue, something bigger. We'll see.
And then the final question that I ask for everyone is, at the end of days, what do you hope? What's your mark that you hope to leave? Or when people say like Chris Lake, someone actually asked me this question on a previous podcast. He's a member at our West Hollywood Club. He goes, if all you could do is introduce yourself and say, I'm Chris Lake and this is what I do, but you can't say like, I'm a DJ, I'm a music producer. Like it's kind of a 2-parter, but what do you hope to leave as your legacy? And like, how do you want people to remember you?
Well, my hope has just been that in my career, I just hope to make a positive impact on my scene in general for like house music. I love it. It's like I want to, I've tried to encourage new artists to come through, things be better, hopefully increase the quality of the music that's out there. That's what I'd hope people would associate with me.
Yeah.
I've kind of like done something good for the scene. So
beautiful.
Fingers crossed.
Say that's what
And if you hate my music, then I haven't done that.
No, it's decent. As the kids say, it's mid, but like it's all good. It's been an honor having you, man.
Thank you.
I'm amazed at what you do and how you do it, and then you still show up. Like you literally there are all the time, come hell or high water. And
I could be fitter though.
Well, like it is what it is, but like life is a long journey. So, the fact that you've been committed and hopefully will stay as such is really, I hope it, shows other people in your industry like it is possible. And ultimately, like if you want to keep doing this for 10, 20, 30 years, like these are the decisions you have to make, because you see what happens on the other side, where like it was heartbreaking to watch that documentary and see that kid just.
Yeah. And I think that was like a wake up call to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Him in particular, because he's just so popular, and so kind of like visible.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic, honestly.
Totally.
Just absolutely tragic. But there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that have changed their ways, and I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more resources out there. There's a lot more talk about health and mental health and everything. Diet, sleep.
Yeah.
There's a lot more awareness about all of this stuff. Hopefully most people pay attention to it and look after themselves. I mean, you got a bunch of artists, joining Monarch now, so. Yeah.
I'm going to get on stage at some point.
I can see it happening. You're special.
Damn straight. All right. Thanks for coming in, man. It was great chatting.
Thank you.